Hey, what's up? It's Ross, and we have a book review for you today. If you hear any snoring, by the way, Renji's underneath the microphone. So, the book we're reviewing is Alchemy, An Introduction to the Symbolism and the Psychology by Marie-Louise von Franz. First question I have is this book easy to read? Short answer is no. This book is intended to be a primer for Carl Jung's work on alchemy, and while it simplifies that process, I would assume, by elaborating on some of the concepts that Carl Jung goes into and giving you some of the backstory, a lot of it was still somewhat hard to read and it could be confusing for people. I did get a lot of insight from it, but that's further on down the line. So I would say that it's somewhat of a hard read for most people. And I will say that after I read it for about 100 or so pages, I began to understand what the hell, like some of the feel of it, and it somewhat changed. So there's a learning curve on what they're talking about, I would say, which is what's to be expected with this type of book anyhow. So next one is usefulness of info. So this is really kind of a personal question. For me, I found this information useful because I'm working on a process similar, right? And without having read any Carl Jung and only being briefly familiar with some of his concepts on the outset, it's interesting to see how many overlaps I've had in my own personal experience with some of the ideas that are presented in this book. And that makes me feel good overall because it makes me feel like validated in what I've experienced, and that there's a lot more work and understanding that I can do by reading some of Carl Jung's work. So this was a good primer for me. For somebody who is not looking at changing themselves or working on themselves, this probably wouldn't be the best book, right? If you're actually looking for gold, this isn't the alchemy you want. If you're looking for psychological change in the Philosopher's Stone, this is the book that you want. Appropriate length is the next thing that I have on there, and I'm looking over because I have these questions written on a board because this is my first time recording a book review like this. So yeah, I think that the book was a great length because it really only had what was essential for presenting her ideas. There wasn't any unnecessary information. It was about 200 pages, and that contained some information from alchemical text, and then like conversation and dialogue afterwards about what was presented. And I think that they did a good job maybe showing how some things could be confusing and then clearing up some of that confusion later on. So it was perfect, right? Overall, would I recommend this book? And again, it comes down to who am I recommending it to, right? If it's somebody who's interested in learning a framework for working on themselves more deeply, or investigating some of their own process and holding it up to one of the classics in psychology, Carl Jung, I would say that it's probably a great book. If it's somebody who is looking for like alchemy as like wealth magic, or somebody looking at it from if people are looking at it for personal development, they'll enjoy it. Other people might not enjoy it so much because it's kind of a dry read unless you know what you're actually reading. So with all of that said, yeah, that was my review on Alchemy by Marie-Louise von Franz. I really enjoy the book. If you're into personal development, I highly suggest that you check it out. Esoteric personal development, I should say. And with all of that said, have a great day. Chat soon. Peace.